Hey, I'm Marina.
And I'm Emily.
And I've seen everything in the Sex and the City empire 10,000 times.
And I'm starting fresh.
So I'll be woman-splaining the show.
And I'm along for the ride.
But there's a twist. We are starting with And Just Like That and working our way back to the beginning.
So in other words, we're watching it backwards and in high heels.
This is City and the Sex. I'm on it. I'm committed. I'm nothing but committed.
It's always a surprise for me. I forget that this is a bit we're doing every time.
I thought I'm going to do frog sex. Okay. I don't know why, but it came to me.
That.
Well, if you are still listening after that, welcome. We're talking about Sex and the City, Season 6, Episode 12, the mid-season finale, if you will, as this season came out in 2 chunks. And this episode, we are joined by a very, very special guest, our loveliest, bestest friend and fan of the show, Rachel! Round of applause. Sirens. Welcome. This has been a long time in the making.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to get into it. I'm also just happy that we're on to Sex and the City because as not a religious viewer of And Just Like That and really just a religious listener of the pod,
Thank you.
Just like, we gotta get to the good stuff.
We gotta move through.
You can just hear how happy Emily is.
I know, she is radiant every episode.
Yeah, Rachel did tell me that. She was like, there's an audible difference between your And Just Like That years and your Sex and the City years. And I completely believe that. I feel like a different person.
There's a thesis in there somewhere.
My bills are paid.
Yeah. This is turning into an academic paper. Watch out. I will get that PhD somehow, and it will be by my own accord.
Yeah.
Very official.
How one podcast gave an uptick in therapy.
So Rachel, take us through, your history with the show a little bit. Tell us about your deep, deep connection to this program.
Yeah, I found it. I have an older sister, and she started watching it when it was on syndication on E! So it was on 24/7. Like, it was like Big Bang Theory on TBS. Like, it was just on all the time. And we would watch our E! True Hollywood story about NSYNC and then just go into the marathon that was Sex and the City. And then I got to college and my roommates had HBO. And I was like, oh, well, I'll watch this. Didn't realize there were so many sex scenes in it. And I was like, wait a minute.
I was going to ask if they edited them, but
they did. Like,
that's crazy.
There's so much. And you were like, oh, I get Samantha now. Like, they really censor Samantha. She's the one that gets the brunt of it. And then when I moved officially to New York, I was like, I'm just going to binge a bunch of like New York shows. And I think it was like in the middle of Friends. I was like, this is on a soundstage. And there's something so beautifully, don't throw up, New York about Sex and the City, because it is, on the streets. But yeah, it just romanticized my whole moving here and everything. And then 4 months later, a global pandemic happened. But, for those 4 months, I was living the Sex and the City dream.
I had a similar thing too, where I binged it for the first time when I moved to New York, because I was like, I need to know my city. LOL.
The documentary, the docu-series that is Sex and the City.
Docu-series. Emily's looking at us like children.
I'm being very nice. What are you saying?
And Rachel, you actually singled out this episode. When we started the podcast, I remember distinctly being in the basement of the reopened Century 21. And you sent me the text that was like, I want to do the one. And obviously we'll get into it more deep, but what was it that called you to this episode?
I will preface that my favorite episode is in season 4, and it's almost time to watch it. It's not quite crispy enough out yet. But of this season, this is one of my favorite episodes. And I think I just so vividly have the music of this episode locked in my brain, which is so weird to think about because you don't think like, oh, Sex and the City, the scoring. But there's these little themes that they introduce throughout it. And it's funny because I truly was like, when I watched it for this, I was like, you gotta focus. Because, you know, it's like, I know it, right? But I'm like, no, focus. And it still just like holds true. But it's the peak of the season and it just sets us up really well for the rest of it. You'll soon see, Emily. But I don't know. I like it, and I like the Petrovsky storyline. You know, but that's me.
Well, that inspires me to think about my one word for this episode, which is too fucking much. In that there was like I knew that a lot happens in this episode. Like even when you read the synopsis, you're like, what? And then watching it, I hit a point, I think it was after Brady's birthday party, where I was like, and it's still going. Like, it's crazy how it's the same runtime of every episode. You know, it's not like it's a longer episode or something, but I checked the time being like, she's going to go on a full date. So much has happened. I need an emotional support blanket. I need time. So that's my one word. Emily, what was your one word?
My word is drama, but with like an accent over the second A, you know. It is dramatic. And I think also you kind of nailed it though, in that it does feel very long because there's a lot happening, but it's not chaotic. You know what I mean? It's all just like heightened emotions. I think it really works as a great mid-season finale because I think, like Rachel was saying, it wraps up a lot of things really well, and also just like lots of bangers in this episode, big scenes.
Rachel, what was your one word if you had to distill it down?
Banana.
I hate that got so much screen time.
Just...
That thing got its SAG card from this whole episode. Can I just say?
New York was not the fifth character in this episode. Banana was.
It was the banana, yeah. Well, let's get into it. It is season 6, episode 12. Actually, it's not even the one. It's just one.
Very ominous.
Ominous.
Already.
We open on Carrie and Charlotte rushing out of a cab to go see a show. She sprints in to see this sort of Marina Abramovich inspired performance artwork, you know, where a woman is being kept for 16 days in this apartment, and the only way to step down is a ladder made of knives, and she's not talking and she's not eating. Art. So here Carrie has decided, like she does sometimes, that she's gonna go like full stand-up. It's not every episode, but a lot of episodes she just goes a full stand-up, and so she's like, girlfriend needs to get a comb through her hair.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a laugh track playing weirdly in just this scene.
That's in the
They're really
earwig.
trying to spice it up. Yeah. And of course, there's a man staring at her from across the room. And I do love the way that she whispers to Charlotte, like, some guy is staring at me. And then they kind of both turn their heads back. Excellent.
Good moment.
Good moment. But of course, he's gone. Oh, no.
Because he's a vampire, is my conclusion.
Yeah, he is very vampire coded.
Yeah.
Well, he's Russian.
Sure, true. I will say I also kind of knew he was coming. I can't remember if someone actually referenced it in Just Like That or we like accidentally mentioned it, but someone mentioned quote unquote the Russian in Carrie's life. So the minute he began to speak, I was like, he's here. He's arrived. It's the one.
He has come. I mean, you must have also looked at the watch and been like, we've got 8 episodes left. What are we going to do?
He's got to be there somewhere. Yeah, that's true. Fair.
But Charlotte finally at the reception desk sees that it is Alexander. Got to say it right. Petrovsky. And she like starts to explain that he's like a big deal, but then he stares at them, which is like, let me say this about him real quick. He disrupts the patter of the show in such a violent way And it's obviously intentional, but it is so disarming every time.
That's such an excellently put thing. I think what I'm also particularly excited about is to hear the behind the scenes about this character. I just want to know everything about this character because he was like dropped in from a different show.
Yes.
He's absolutely not what I was expecting. He's just like, he's incredibly intriguing. And I think like Carrie says at one point where she's like, he seems odd, or I don't remember exactly the word is, but I'm like, yeah, but that's the understatement of the year. Like, he is an alien. Something is like, even if he's not that weird, it's like him in the language of this show doesn't make any sense. I'm immediately on board.
Well, and I think also we've just had so many like boyish boys, especially for like Carrie, that deathlock stare Russian is just like a 180. Because that's the thing, right? It's like, oh, you're staring at like the cute person in the thing, but like you break it and then come back and he's just locked. And it just, and they're like, music cue. It's soft. It's fun, right? It's cute.
Yeah. And you're like, I don't know. I'm uncomfortable. But here, you know, Charlotte just starts kind of gushing, being like, thank you. You know, my first sale I ever made in a gallery was your abstract #1. And he's like, okay. And then he's like, what do you think about this performance art? And she's like, oh, it's significant. It's so moving. And then he turns to Carrie and he's like, what do you think? And she's like, it's good.
Thank you for doing the face that she makes.
Yeah,
It's
in
really
that
like,
exact tone. Just like, good.
Which, like, fake it a little bit more, Carrie, right? Like, we've all been Carrie. We've all been, like, Charlotte in this very New York thing of you've gotten dragged to something. Like, Carrie, put on an act. Instead, she's a comedian.
I was going to say, she's stand-up flavor Carrie today. So she's just only here to make quips and no human connection. You know what I mean? So she's like, he's like, well, what do you think? She's like, it's good. And then he's like, well, you thought it was funny. You were laughing. And then she starts on her little stand. Listen, if I have to be honest, like a woman sitting and not talking for 16 days, that's every depressed woman in New York. And it's not art. And he's just like, again, he's eating it. Somehow he's into it. Why?
He has a shame kink. For like,
he was definitely, he like had some sort of Christian Grey past with a comedian. And it's like being triggered by Carrie in this moment because he's like way too into it.
It took me a second to remember who Christian Grey is, so I kind of only processed the word Christian. I was like, oh yeah, oh, he's also definitely Catholic. We're learning a lot about this man only in this interaction.
Yeah. That's also at play here. You can feel it.
So happy you
There's
picked
a lot
that up.
of context.
That's a big episode coming up. No.
And in fact, he says, you are a comic, which it never sounds natural in his mouth, and it never will.
And we hear it a lot.
And he
says
loves
it like
to
4
say
more
it.
times.
Comic.
You know, in the last episode, we were talking about how when Big and Carrie are together, it's the big, you know, the scene where he has the heart surgery.
We play dominoes.
He's like, and he's like genuinely laughing at her jokes. And I felt, I was telling Emily, like I felt for the first time in a long time since we've been watching a lot of garbage that like, oh, they actually are meant to be together in some capacity, you know? And then it's funny to come here where like, he's just like, ha ha ha, you comic. Like Tommy Wiseau. And it's like, get out.
Yeah, it's like, it's so jarring. It's like, it really is like, if this were a show, let's say on YouTube, and you looked at the comic section, and then there was like this sort of half English comment that doesn't really make sense. It's like he's that, but personified in the show. It's very strange. He'll say things that other people like will just stare at him for and not know how to respond. I loved it. He like has completely broken all of them. It's great. It's very strange.
And then, of course, you know, Charlotte continues to kind of like freak out at him. I like how he's like, what's your name to Carrie? And she's like, I'm Carrie Bradshaw. And then Charlotte's like, I'm Charlotte York, Golden Black. I forgot my name. Priceless. And I also love that as she's like spiraling out, he goes, so, and then just leaves.
Again, 10 out of 10 exit. Honestly, incredible.
Truly like my dad from a conversation. Just cut from the same cloth where it's like, all right, he's gone. That's
Okay.
it.
So,
Then we cut to Miranda at home and Dr. Robert Leeds. We only refer to him in full name on this podcast.
out of respect.
Thank you.
Dr. Robert Leeds comes over and, of course, continuing to be the most perfect man ever written, comes with a full pizza to eat for dinner and a surprise for later.
I'm already I'm gonna go into a rage later about this man.
Oh, I think we all are. I think all of our ovaries collectively, all 6 of them, are going to burst out and just take the streets.
Well, and just in contrast to Steve, where Miranda, there's nothing smooth
exactly.
about Steve Brady.
It's rough. It's rough. But anyway, he gets Paige to go to work, finally. And so he leaves her behind with the surprise. I love the way that Cynthia Nixon kind of taps the box, like, should I wait? Nope, I'm going to open it. And open it to reveal the I love you cookie, which I guess Princess Diaries would steal years later with the I'm sorry pizza.
Good call.
Good call.
Yes.
I call plagiarism when I see it. This is a journalism podcast now.
We definitely understand how copyright works.
100%. And Miranda, like a freaking animal, eats the whole cookie in one go.
Honestly, I would say like one of the most insane reactions to a piece of news we've ever seen. But we did just see a man leave a conversation after saying, so, and then nothing else. So I guess what I'm saying is that's on par for course for this episode in particular. It's just people reacting in a way I absolutely didn't see coming. But okay,
Yeah.
she just eats it.
But yet I find it relatable. If it's not there, I can't process it. What?
I mean, literally same. Can I say? Like, it is unhinged, but also same. Because you can't just put it in the trash, because, like, you want to eat it.
It can't be wasteful.
Okay, then maybe I'm a horrible person, because I would have put that. If I was like, I can't handle this, I would have gone in the trash. I would have been very harsh. But she just...
Emily, you can't put a cookie like that in the trash.
No.
Come on.
I would eat the pizza whole, and that cookie's going in the trash. I'm a pizza gal.
Okay, got it. Well, Miranda and Carrie are on a walk, and Miranda admits that, she ate the whole cookie. And they kind of get into a back and forth here where Carrie's like, so are you upset because he said I love you, or are you upset because he said I love you on a cookie? And Miranda's like, well, he's so perfect. He's too perfect. I can't be upset that he's saying I love you. It has to be the cookie. But you can feel that. That ain't right. And then we hear here that Brady's going to have his 1-year-old birthday party. And Carrie makes a very distinct point to say, no clowns. I don't want to see a clown.
I did have a note here that just says, Carrie says nothing scarier than a clown despite being in love with Big. I just want the record to show that even when he's not in the episode, I'm thinking about Mr. Big. I'm dissing Mr. Big.
He's looming.
So rude.
His
rude.
shadow looms across this whole season for me.
We have decided that he is top clown, unfortunately.
He's the top clown in the Big Apple Circus.
Yeah, he is both the saddest man in the Big Apple Circus and top clown.
Yeah. Yeah.
He gets 2 titles because he's so
Big.
So the 4 girls are at brunch, and Samantha whips out her glasses, which we've never seen. And she goes on her little mini rant here where she's like, yes, I wear glasses and I'm not ashamed. I have a sexy man who will fuck me and I'm fabulous. Which I think I've seen that clip on TikTok like every day when I wake up.
Yes.
And it's what we aspire to be.
Can I just say, though, before she does the 40-fucking-5, she talks about being at Studio 54 with Alexander Petrovsky. And when, like, there's things on, like, the internet where it's, like, Martin Luther King and Anne Frank and Betty White, we're all born in the same year, and you're kind of like, wow, history's amazing. The idea of Halston, Liza Minnelli, and Andy Warhol and Samantha Jones all on the same like timeline in the same space is wild to me.
Is absolutely wild.
I mean, it's culture for one, but it just is like it's all a construct.
Yeah. But it's like, and I wish they did this with Alexander more, where it's like, I need more of those drops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need the lore of like when me and, you know, Robert Moses took a walk around the island.
I want people to know that the way I'm tying everything to Big, Marina ties everything to Robert Moses.
I do. Don't
Your
get me
Roman
started. Nobody wants a mini lesson of the Power Broker here, but I'll just plug it. It's the 50th anniversary, so check it out. And Samantha Jones was there when they wrote it.
She was in the room.
She was in the room.
They say Robert Moses is actually the 5th character of Sex and the City.
Stop. That's a sitcom. Robert Moses comes back and he is trapped in a 30-something woman's body and he has to just navigate New York City. I'd watch the hell out of that, and I'd probably be the only viewer and the writer and the director and the star. But it doesn't matter. I'm yenteling it
check.
all the way to the
Not
end of the road.
yenteling.
All the way to the end, baby.
Not a verb. Ma'am.
I mean. So then Carrie introduces Alec, as you mentioned. We get this drop that he was at Studio 54. We get this amazing line from Samantha, you know, I'm 45. Charlotte breezes in, sits down smiling, and announces that she's pregnant, which obviously everybody is super ecstatic for her. I love that she's like, I don't know if it's the tease or the acupuncture or Harry, but something's working. And then we're just rudely cut away from that as Samantha goes, excuse me, out loud, and then scratches her damn beaver in front of everyone. And then they're all like looking at her like, what the fuck? And she's like, oh, I'm growing it out. Smith likes it grown out. And I love the button here from Charlotte where she's like, everything's the same as it always has been, but I'm pregnant. Incredible.
The energy of this episode is like off the charts.
The charts.
We've mentioned a few times that they often in these brunch scenes don't have like a good if they don't have like a subtle way to get from one person's dilemma to talking to someone else's person, and someone will just say a thing that's like really obviously not related. I think this actually kind of takes the cake, honestly. It's like, oh my God, you're pregnant? Wow, that's so amazing. Anyway, excuse me. If everyone can wait for a second, I need to really loudly and visibly scratch my bush.
Yeah. It's also another example of like everybody having cataclysmic plots, like Carrie meets a new boyfriend. Miranda confesses her love for Steve. Like Charlotte, you know, has and loses a baby. And Samantha, she's got a bush problem. You know what I mean? It's like, again, you can see why Kim Cattrall said, and I'm out. You know?
Thank you. Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. It becomes painfully more obvious. So Carrie's at home and Alec calls, and I love this. I love that he calls and she goes, wrong number, and hangs up. And then he calls
another crazy response.
Like,
why does she think that? All he said was hello, and she goes, wrong number.
What? She's totally racist. She like heard a foreign voice and was like, ew, that person wouldn't call me.
I don't know foreign people.
Which is crazy.
Crazy.
You just
although aside, speaking of the like I want to be this whatever with the 40 fucking 5 line, I want to be this where she is sitting by her window and she's got the fan like blowing directly on her and she's got this big glass of iced tea and just like flipping through a magazine or reading a book. That image to me, I was like manifesting. That's on my board.
And a gentle breeze. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It just,
yeah.
And then a foreigner calls you and you hang up on them.
Yeah,
I was going to say, as we all sit in our windowless apartment
right.
and watch the episode.
New York, baby.
New York, baby. We love it here. But as we said, he calls, she goes, wrong number, and hangs up. He calls again. She goes, sorry, wrong number. And then he calls a third time, and then he's finally able to just get it out. He's like, I'm Alexander Petrovsky calling for Carrie Bradshaw. And then I love the bit that she does here where she's like, oh, let me get her. Carrie. And then she puts on, see, she's done being stand-up Carrie, and now she's sexy Carrie, which is another Carrie that comes out, because then she's like, hello?
And he immediately sees through it, too. He's like, this is just you doing your voice, right? Or he says something like that.
Yes. He does call her out in the most painfully long way ever. He's like, that was you.
I don't know. It's the comedy triple at its finest. So I don't know what to tell you.
It's got to be in a rule 3. And he's like, I think we should check on that woman and make sure she's not eating a Big Mac like you said. So let's go see her at 3 a.m. And Carrie's like, are you going to ask me on a date at 3 a.m.? And he's like, actually, 1. We'll have dinner at the Russian Samovar. Carrie takes the full backup wheel drive into being like, what are you going to do? Sell me into white slavery?
There's a lot of that energy going on in this episode.
But I love how it hits him like a deadened thud. I live for that.
Exactly. It's like he's not getting the joke, but he's turned on.
Yes. As we established,
very confusing.
He has a Christian Grey past with a comedian, and it's coming out here. That's the only way this can be canon.
It's so strange.
Hangs up on him 3 times, gets a white slavery joke, and he's like, I'm still going to do it. Committed.
I'm coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible. Terrible.
He's like, the younger women, though.
Yeah,
he's like,
I will put up with this.
Very vampiric. He's like, but she's young, so I'll stick it out. He's like, I need that microdose of blood.
I need to live forever.
And then they hang up, and then the phone calls a 4th time. But and she's like, hello again, because now she's, I guess, woken up to the fucking fact that he's calling. And unfortunately, we find out that it's Harry. And then we cut to her going over to Charlotte's apartment, where we learn that Charlotte has had a miscarriage, which is obviously devastating. I'm always struck by how sad it is to see her on the couch, just like, no makeup, just like lifeless in a way. And even when Carrie sits next to her and she just turns to her and she's like, I don't want to go to Brady's birthday party on Saturday. And Carrie's like, okay. We talked about this. When the episodes are good, they have pauses.
Yeah.
And they like hold the weight. And I do think this whole plot line in general, as we'll get into it, but it hits me every time. I get teary every time.
Yeah, it's really hard to watch. I think it I think shattered me when she says, I don't want to go to Brady's birthday party, because there's something about that moment that's like, she's kind of still thinking about that. There's something so, I don't know, like humanizing about that moment. And it just like, it did choke me up a little bit. I was like, it's just devastating, and you have such nice blocking too with Carrie kind of like touching her hair and trying to comfort her, and she's kind of just not even reacting, like she's not even acknowledging it. She's just totally zoned out. That I think is really, it's heartbreaking. I think in a similar vein to what we've seen in Just Like That, it is also kind of sad when you have a plot like this and then you don't have a lot of time for it, but for the minutes that she does have on screen, she kills it.
Yeah.
Kristen Davis.
And I think also, like, when Carrie walks in, Carrie's like, how is she? And Harry's like, not good. And not like an attitude way, but it's like, so easily when company comes over, you so just want to be like, she's okay, like, oh, she's on the couch now. But it's like, not good. Like, again, it's like, yes, this is a comedy, and yes, it's Sex in the City, but it knows how to land the plane sometimes. Like, it really does. And, like, hit the moments. But then we hang up the phone 3 times, and then...
Yeah,
back to Carrie land.
And then we get to the bush, which we're not at yet, but I cannot believe it's in the same episode as this touching scene.
But these writers put them together, like,
Again, it shows like what And Just Like That thinks it's doing is this, and instead it's like not delivering on the comedy and also not delivering on the serious. So you're just kind of like, was that funny? I don't know. Was that serious? I don't know. I guess
And
I'm
this
still
also
watching.
has the decency to not put them back to back. Whereas
Agreed.
in Just Like That, the editing is not nearly as thought out. So you do get moments like this, and then immediately after, it would cut to like the bush scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's. I'm so glad we're not there.
I know. God bless.
We're happy to have you here. Get a gift basket.
So then we cut back to Miranda's home, and Dr. Robert Leeds is going through all the party supplies, and then she's like, all right, well, we got everything, and Steve is just bringing the cake, and Dr. Robert Leeds is like, speaking of cake, perfect segue. He's like, you haven't mentioned the cookie, and she's like, oh, it was delicious. And then he's like, okay, well, what about what it said? And then she's like, well, I was trying to think of what to say. And he's like, it's been 5 days. And then she says, sweet, so sweet. And then I love the hard cut here to Jules and Mimi being like, I love you. No, I love you more. No, I love you.
Jesus.
Excellent. She calls Carrie to say, like, I can't say I love you. And I'm never going to be happy. I'm so fucked up. And Carrie gives her advice that she gives literally anyone anytime they're going through a hard time, which is, why don't you sleep on it?
Yeah.
I'm starting to notice that's what she says every time.
Well, she writes an advice column. She knows how to give advice. I don't know what to tell you.
And that advice is, why don't you sleep on it? Works so well.
Journalism.
Journalism. Yes. I'm learning. And then we cut to Carrie doing that journalism, doing that columning, where she talks about the one. And she says, when will the waiting for the one be done? She put a little rhyme in there, put a little work.
Okay, earning your paycheck.
Put a little time and effort. Then we get to the bush.
Yay!
I'm just going to run through this scene and then we can talk about it. But essentially, Samantha goes, she's like clearly done with her shower. Again, I love here that she grabs the hairdryer for her hair and then notices the bush and then hair dries the bush. She looks down at the bush and she notices, as we learn via Carrie's voiceover, that she has a gray hair. She picks up the tweezers, looks at her bush, looks at the tweezers, is like, no. Hard cut directly to the blonde hair dye, which I think is unhinged. Then the camera like pans over the mirror where she's like hair drying it. And then we see it in its full orange, clean cut triangle regalia.
Yeah.
And then I love how the camera pans up to Samantha and she just screams in the mirror. End scene.
This episode is a roller coaster.
I mean, that merkin is incredible.
But imagine working in costumes on this show, right? You need a Chucky Orange merkin and you need an Elizabeth Taylor look because someone is dealing with a miscarriage. Like, when I tell you, like, look, talent, diversity, perfection.
Honestly, great point. Great. Shout out to costume for this one.
I'm honestly like, this is what they should do in acting class when they are teaching kids to
this
act.
scene?
Is this scene? Yeah.
This is you're like, and for my monologue,
Yes. And
I'm
for
gonna
my
do the scene
monologue-
of Samantha dyeing her pubic hair.
Listen.
You take a long pause and then you just scream. You say
No.
thank you.
No. You have to do the Sarah Jessica Parker face acting all the way through. You have to do the whole journey from discovery, very important in acting, discovery to the decision making to the hope that it will turn good to the scream. Yes.
Okay.
It's called having a full range.
All right. Just got schooled. Okay.
I'm just saying, you said earlier that the episode is like these episodes are at their strongest when the pauses are included. She takes her time discovering and putting a plan together on how to process.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
she kills it.
She does.
Case in point.
She nails it.
It's also just the color that they chose. Like, it... No notes. To quote Emily,
exactly.
Like, 0.
Ugliest orange a person could find.
Yes. And again, the transition that they do here, straight from the merkin to the wig of the clown, is too good for this world.
The match cut, actual cinematography is happening in this episode.
Like, and it gets me every time. Like, I know it's coming and I forget it every time. And then when it happens, it brings me such joy.
They really did, I think, come up with this plot so they could do that cut.
Yes, the cut came first.
Yeah, the cut came
And
first.
then they were like, who's going to have a Merc and Samantha? Duh, obviously.
Obviously.
Who else? So as I said, we transitioned to the clown, which is at Brady's party, which was, of course, was hired by Steve's mom, who I don't think we've met yet, actually.
Oh, okay.
So I think this is her first introduction. This might not be maybe her first introduction, but it's an early appearance of Steve's mom, who's like, I hired a clown. The kids are going to love it. And I love the way that Miranda's like, there's only one child here. And then she's like, he can open the door.
That is actually a great bit, is having him for the rest of the episode, like opening the door in the background for people
Is
excellent.
Ace.
Deeply creepy.
So the cake comes, and then they're like, oh, put it in the laundry room because it's a cool room. It won't melt. And I also, Steve's mom being like, I hope you don't mind. I brought my own beer. And then I love the way that Debbie comes in and goes, hi, Ma. And she goes, Debbie. And then they like hug it out. And it's just like clear the juxtaposition of like stoic Miranda and then just Debbie.
Yeah. And then her clearly loving Debbie. And of course she does. Like, that makes sense to me from Debbie's personality.
Yeah. Where's the show with the two of them?
I hope they just stayed friends somewhere off screen.
Harry shows up also to the birthday party with the gift, and he says sorry Charlotte couldn't come, and Miranda's like, it's okay, obviously I understand, and she just has to feel it out. He's like, I don't know what to do, and she's like, it's okay. And then there's this weird ad lib where she's like, come, like, we have food, and he goes, good. I don't know why I heard it crystal clear watching it, and I was like, okay, why is this in here? Good.
I didn't catch that. That's so good and weird. Everyone's so weird today. I love it. I love when everyone's talking like an alien.
Yeah.
Well, with the Russian.
See,
Right.
broke the show, so now everybody doesn't know what to do anymore. He came in with his weird, stilted inability to understand humor. Then we cut to Charlotte at home on the couch, and she's flipping through the TV, and she comes across the True Hollywood Story of Elizabeth Taylor and starts watching.
Also, Marina, there was a Snapple commercial, I want to say, while she was flipping through the channels, so you were onto something. We discussed previously where she was drinking Snapple, and you were like, there's something with this, there's in the show. I'm starting to see it. You've Snapple pilled me.
Oh, yeah.
There is some sort of sponsorship going on.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of sponsorship going on.
Very subliminal.
Bit my tongue, but in the last episode, there is both Aquafina and Schweppes. I'm fucking watching, okay? I'm fucking paying attention.
It's in your notebook. It's color coded.
It is, actually.
I didn't watch the episode properly last night, clearly. I didn't clock these things.
You're just, for some reason, though, you're drinking Snapple right now, and you don't even know
And you
why.
don't even know why.
I did love Snapple, though, at one point. Anyway.
It was really the drink of the 90s.
Yes.
And I never grew out of that.
Yes. I mean, Emily is single-handedly keeping the company afloat.
It is true. They will go under if I start drinking Arizona.
Oh,
Wait.
It's over for them.
absolutely.
What are your flavors?
lemon and peach. Either of
Respectable.
them, I literally will buy it in bulk just so it's like in the house.
Like in
So
jugs.
I will, yeah,
Like biblical
I get
sizes.
the full gallon, and like if you, but any cabinet that's like over the microwave or over the fridge or whatever, it's just Snapple.
Good.
It's my emergency Snapple.
Marina, here's the thing. In my head, Emily was always cool girl. She's one of us.
Yeah, see?
Now I know on the other side of this camera, it's all Snapple.
It's all just a ring of
My
a
strange
throne of
addiction.
Snapple.
And I'm thrilled.
Listen, podcasts are breaking barriers, bringing people together, bringing, mind you, the freak out. Okay? And that's what's important. And that's the mission of this podcast.
Amen.
That was really beautiful.
Thank you. I'm running for president.
Also, that's part of our ad copy. This episode is brought to you by Snapple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me launch into the ad. Do you need a well, we cut back to the party, and we have that great moment where the door is opened by the clown, and Carrie comes in, and she turns and sees the clown and screams. And I love the way that she is death serious about, like, I was promised no clowns.
Yeah, she's not joking anyway. This is not comic, Carrie.
No. Now we're in trauma, Carrie. Because the trauma only continues. Because Samantha finds her and is like, we have to go to the bathroom, we have to talk. And Carrie's like, I have to eat. And then Samantha literally gives her a plate full of food, is like, we're going to the bathroom now. And Carrie's like, okay. And they go to the bathroom. And basically Samantha tells her the whole saga about how she found a gray hair. And Carrie's like, okay. And then she's like, down there. And I love the way that she just puts the plate of food aside. She's like, okay, and I can't eat anymore.
Okay, this is what we're going to talk about. All right.
She's like, I can be old, but this, referring to her vagina, cannot get old. Nobody's fucking grandma's pussy. And again, Carrie, being the progressive sex columnist that she is like, ewy, stop. Like, come on, help a sister out.
She's disgusted. Yeah.
She's absolutely disgusted. And I'm like, this is a good Emily moment, because there's going to be another vagina moment in an earlier season. And when we get to it, you're going to be like, Carrie was so fucking mean to Samantha, and this was not right.
I don't think that'll surprise me at all. She does clearly like to talk about sex in a very like Puritan way of like, Big stayed over last night. But then if you get more detail than that, she's like, you're an animal.
And you're disgusting.
And I've lost my appetite. I'm projectile vomiting.
I'm just really excited for the earlier seasons, because we really lead into that mentality of like, someone will have a sexual experience and she's Judgy McJudgerson. And you're like, Carrie, what? So she just likes to surround herself with people that are having good and interesting sex, when she herself, as shown,
Yeah,
but like, you're like, it's boring. I'm positive.
They have a great sex life. He pushed her up against that wall that one time.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think
What
we
a-
did roast her for that, where she was
say-
like, boy, we were anything but ordinary. And it's just like a gentle push against a wall.
It's just so cruel, because, Rachel, you're exactly right. She surrounds herself with people having interesting sex and then judges the hell out of them. And this dynamic is fucked. But as we've said before, thank God there's no therapy on this show, or else we would have no show.
Right.
Exactly. Entertaining as hell.
But here, Carrie starts being like, okay, I'm going to leave in a 10 count. And Samantha's like, you don't understand. And then she's like, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. As she gets to the 2, 1, Samantha lifts her whole skirt up, shows Carrie the full bush, like trembling. Carrie has to avert her eyes like she's looking directly at Christ. But in disgust. And then I love the way that Samantha tearfully goes, I'm Bozo the Bush. Like Shakespearean acting in this bathroom.
But Kim Cattrall is so good. Like, can we just
Yeah.
sit in that for a second? It's like, truly, I know you guys talk about it a lot of, like, she just gets the shit storylines, but God, she just does them, like, she just gives them so much justice because she's perfect. And the moment when Carrie's sitting on the toilet with the pasta salad or whatever, and Kim's like, I found a gray hair. SJP gets it good too, where she's like, in the food? Like, every now and then she gets, like, real shticky. And you're like, Sarah Jessica, this is Kim's show.
You can tell sometimes when she is like, fine that Kim gets the exciting Bozo the Bush plot, but I'm the funny one. And you're like, okay.
Kim Cattrall could do Carrie, but SJP could not do Samantha.
Never.
No.
We cut back to Charlotte and Elizabeth Taylor, and the audio here of the E. Charlie Hollywood True Story is crazy. They're like, and she had a tracheotomy surgery, and that was her life. It was really, really hard. And then it like cuts to a sound clip of Elizabeth Taylor being like, now is the time for guts and guile. And you're like, who edited this? I have notes. I have feedback. But it's so inspiring to Charlotte, you know, that like Elizabeth Taylor overcame and so she can overcome. And so she puts on her little like Elizabeth Taylor like homage fit, which is so precious and so cute. She comes out and like puts her sunglasses on and like struts, you know, as if she's Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, I feel like it's so relatable because we've all been there where like you've been at the pit and then you like, my mom got from a discount bin a biography of Jim Henson and I was like in a pit and I read it and I was like sobbing, and then I bought paisley shirts and I wore paisley shirts for a period of time because I was like, I'm gonna be just like Jim Henson. You know what I mean? Like, I love just how relatable this is.
Yeah. It is really, really sweet. Not a lot is spoken, but just to see her in the outfit and everything, you're just like, that's such a, you know, whether you're kind of like a teenager and you're discovering your first sort of like celebrity kind of crush idol person and emulating them, or as an adult who is like set upon with this kind of horrible experience and having to push through it, like there is something just kind of unifying about finding something like that you can just kind of play make-believe a little bit with and like find association with, that I absolutely loved. It's a really sweet episode. She really doesn't have a lot of screen time in this, but every minute was like really pulling at the heartstrings. It's very sad, but very good.
And I think it's also just, again, like the scene doesn't work if it takes place in the suburbs, you know, where she, you know, walks out to the car and gets in the car and all that. But like she's on the street of the Upper East Side and like put the best fit on to feel her best and is walking out and taking it on. And you're just like, ugh. You can do anything in New York, you know?
Careful, that's how she'll end the column.
Yeah.
We cut back to the party, and Miranda and Debbie have sort of a moment where they talk it out. And Debbie's like, I'm so happy that you're happy with Robert, and I'm happy with Steve. And you're like, oh, Debbie. Oh, Debbie.
I'm just an unfortunate person.
Yeah.
From start to finish.
Robert asks, you know, where's the cake? We should get the cake. And Miranda kind of like is, you know, kind of out of it. And he's like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah. And she goes to get the cake and in the laundry room. And then suddenly the door opens and it's Steve. And they're both in the cramped laundry room together. And she's, you know, trying to light the candles. And he's like, look at the candle I got for Brady. And it's like a big one candle. And she sees it. And she just says, I love you. Just spills right out of her. Contrary to what she said earlier. The symbolism, the metaphor, the cycle
Things
of
are
life.
happening. Aren't.
And then Magda like bursts in on them. And she's like, where's the cake? And then they're like, oh, we're getting it ready. Look at the candle. And I love the way she just gives them a look like, y'all are fucking in here. And that's okay.
Magda is my unsung hero.
Yeah.
Yes, I do love Magda. I love that, like, an episode or two ago, she let Dr. Robert Leeds into Miranda's apartment solely because he was like gonna cook her dinner. And now she's like smirking about that. I think she's just like, I just need Miranda to get laid. She's like, this woman is stressed and lonely and sad. And I'm here for her and I just want her to be laid. And I respect that. That's a real friend. She's like trying to make it happen. And as happy as I am to like, I'm happy to see Steve happy. I'm happy to see Miranda happy. As we kind of have discussed a few times, it's hard to watch them get back together because, like, we love Dr. Robert Leeds, first of all. And then second of all, you're like, but I just think they could be happy apart from each other.
Yeah.
I think they really could be because I know what's going to happen when they get together.
I feel like, and we were talking about this a little bit in the last episode, where I don't feel like the ramp up to them getting back together quite works for me. In that, like, they kind of, unfortunately, do too good of a job of making me like Dr. Robert Leeds.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that's like, this scene is so touching. And, like, it's filmed so beautifully. And I have no notes on this scene in particular. But I am in the back of my head being like, for fucking Dr. Robert Leeds? You gonna leave him for this?
Yeah. It's hard. It's like, it's hard to, like, be excited about it, even if it's a good scene. I definitely, compare and contrast what I was feeling when, like, Charlotte and Harry got back together versus what I was feeling watching this scene was kind of night and day, you know, in terms of just, like, absolute joy, tears welling up, to this being like, all right, I guess this is time for this to happen. I was also just kind of really shocked that in the very next breath we find out that they're gonna get back together. And so this is gonna happen kind of off screen, and her relationship with Dr. Robert Leeds just ends off screen. That is what I was saying earlier was like going to send me into a rage, because that to me was like unforgivable. That he just is cast off screen.
Yeah, no, it's cruel. I mean, I think he's in one episode in the next season, but it's like the aftermath, because this scene ends with them saying like, and 3 weeks later they were together, and you're like, oh, we're not going to see the 3 weeks of the turmoil.
Yeah,
all right, sounds good.
Okay. It's like really shocking. And then we move on because we have a lot to get through. I think you were right that I would have been fine with how fast this went, or at least more fine with how kind of fast this reconciliation went, if I didn't like Dr. Robert Leeds so much.
Yeah.
I think that does kind of cause problems.
And I do think he's miscast. I think you can't put Blair Underwood in it, and then I'm supposed to just quickly be like, no, I'm done with him now, you know? Like,
yeah.
But that's the thing, is like, we needed like another like half episode storyline of her realizing it, and then the birthday party solidifying it.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
I agree, because they just became, like, last episode they announced they were boyfriend and girlfriend. The episode before that, they like had sex for the first time. So we literally saw them have sex, become boyfriend and girlfriend, and then he's just discarded.
Exactly. He's only been here. This is his 4th episode.
Yeah.
Which does not also bode well, I will say, because when he first was introduced, I was very excited about him, obviously, and you were like, "Oh yeah, this is a big boyfriend for Miranda." And then 4 episodes later, he's gone off screen.
Yep.
So that does not bode well for Miranda either. That's very grim.
Yep. I stand by what I said.
Yikes, is all I'm gonna say.
I just want to say that
I really thought he'd be around longer.
Yeah. In my headcanon, he gets together with Debbie.
100%.
I like that. I think they'll be very happy. I think they'll be very happy.
It's like, because he like wants to make people happy, and she wants to make people happy, and they just spend every day giving each other gifts. That's how I imagine that, you know.
The American Jules and Mimi, if you will. No.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, as we said, you know, after the laundry room, we cut to this touching scene of everybody around the table singing happy birthday to Brady. And Charlotte shows up, and this time I cried a little bit when, you know, they're all like, make a wish, Brady. And Miranda blows out the candle, and then Harry turns to Charlotte and he's like, did you make a wish? And she like nods yes. I was like, I am tearing up at 4 p.m. on a Thursday. Unsolicited. It just goes to show, like, how long were her scenes collectively? Like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
God, if that.
If not less. Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
baby shoes for sale, never worn. Like, you know what I mean? You're like instantly like,
And she's probably got 5 lines in the full episode, you know, like it's not dialogue heavy for her this episode. And she kills it. Like, yeah,
smoted.
right.
Smoted. Capital A acting is happening in this episode, ladies and gents.
Then our favorite characters are killed off screen. Okay. Then we cut to like the second half of this fucking episode.
I know. This is crazy. The way this episode is structured is very like Sex and the City 2, where it's like we're going to have a bunch of misadventures and then a second half.
Yeah.
I like forgot. I was like, wow, we're already wrapping up the episode? No, we still haven't even done the date.
Nope.
Oh my God. We haven't even gotten to the banana. There's so much to get through.
The quintessential banana. Second billing on the episode. Okay. So Carrie goes on her date with Alexander at 1 a.m. And I love that he tries to culture her by having her eat Russian foods. Like he's like, this is beet, it's red, and this is aspic. And I'm sitting there being like, you could have clocked for moment one that this bitch was not going to eat aspic. Wake up.
She's not thrilled. Yeah, no. It's just poorly chosen.
And very vampiric, the way that he's like, come up to the first floor where nobody else is around. And I'll just talk in a different language to all the wait staff. So you don't know what's going on.
I haven't seen him in direct sunlight yet, is all I'm saying.
Then, and I feel like this is intentional, but like some of the clunkiest dialogue here of like her trying to get something started and he is just like a rock. And I know it's intentional because then the banana literally saves the banana literally makes this relationship happen. If not for the banana, this would have ended here.
Honestly, it sounds like a joke, but I think you're completely correct.
No, 100%, because she's like, so Alexander, and he's like, it's Alexander. And then we have to go back and forth where he's like, Alec, and she's like, Alex, you know? And you're like, and then he's like, call me Bob. And you're like, I don't like any of this. And I love the way she's like, so I write a column for the newspaper. Long pause, and then he's like, congratulations. Again, like any conversation I've witnessed somebody have with my dad. You know what I mean? Where like, he's there, he's hanging out. He doesn't know what you're saying, though. You know what I mean?
But he'll give you a one-word response. Like, he'll show that he's present. The next time someone tells me what they do for work, I'm going to say congratulations. I think that's hilarious. I'm a product manager. Congratulations.
And then no follow-up. No, like, what's that like? Oh, newspapers are fun. He's just staring at her. Back to staring. Worst date I've ever been on, and I'm watching it happen. Mm-hmm. So then Carrie tries to, again, in trying to start up conversation, brings up Studio 4, being like, I took a disco nap. Something that happened at Studio 54, which I heard you've been to. And he just like
Poor thing.
drops it like a dead weight, just looking into her eyes. And then she's like, you don't want to talk about what that was like? And then he goes on his lofty artist answer being like, I don't like to look in the past. I like to be in the present with you. I care about what's happening today.
It's such an ominous answer. It sounds like someone trying to avoid a dark question. I don't think it's actually going to come up later, but it does feel like hey, there's this thing on your record. Oh, I don't look at the past. You know what I mean? It's just like everything about him was so ominous that I thought Carrie was going to bolt out there any minute, but I know he has to stay, right? I know the Russian has been referenced. I know he has to be here. So I'm like, I'm waiting. And then we get to the fruit that ties it all together. But this entire thing, I was like, Carrie's going to get up and leave, right? She's going to just walk. This is 1 a.m. She's downtown.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is, so Rachel, what is it about Petrovsky that gets you hooked?
It's funny because I was thinking I was going to piggyback and not defend Petrovsky.
No, go for it.
But because also it's like
there's nothing we love more on this show than a hot take, Rachel. So I want you to go all in on Petrovsky.
Well, and it's tough because it's like I am attracted to Petrovsky, but the problem is that I can't, the way that I would compare him to Big, Emily would hate me because I'd be like, like he, there's a smoothness like Big. And I'm like, you don't know Big the way I do because you think he's a teenage girl in hot tubs and on beds talking. But when you're 16 in Bel Air, Maryland, he is hot and he is sex. And anyway,
that's really valid. Also, you're so astute in that if you did say that, I would giggle. If you did say he's smooth like Big, I would have to snicker a little.
I was like,
because that is exactly what I think of this man.
Yes. And the thing is, it's so funny, and I tell Marina this all the time, and like listening to this podcast, it's like, because it's one of those things where it's like it's your comfort watch, you've grown up with it, but when somebody who has none of that with it and then points out everything, you're like, fuck, they're right. They are shitty friends to Charlotte. Do I like Charlotte in this season? What do you mean?
My propaganda train will not be stopped.
No, I mean, it's vicious. It's honestly vicious.
I do think, though, there is a moment where, like, my like for Charlotte, like, is towards the later seasons, as my dislike for Miranda is in the later seasons. Like, they cross each other. Yeah, So that season totally 4 is excellent. But I think what Petrovsky does for me is again, it's like, it's not, he's not dude, right? Like, Big is dude, Aiden is dude, Berger is dude. Whereas, like, he's an artist and he's ethereal and he's Russian, Like, there's just something.
I do like, you know? Yeah. He's a man. Like, he's a man.
He's a man and he's 50. And, like, I think also Carrie, yes, we hate her, but, like, watching this show, like, she 100% is like, I'm cool girl in my world, and I'm in my bubble, and I'm in my bubble, and he's like, bitch, you live in New York City, like, go to Europe. Foreshadowing. But,
I can't wait.
But, like, I think he just really kind of, again, this episode actually isn't a good example of it, listening to this conversation, because I'm like, the dialogue is so chunky clunky, because in theory they're so mismatched, which, like, spoiler, they won't end up together, but you knew that. So it, like, doesn't work, but I'm so fascinated to get you to the end of this season.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I think that's like Sex and the City at its peak, or like Carrie at her peak, is like, even if she's making bad decisions, I love when she like has an arc to work with. And so I'm like very excited about this. And because he's so weird, like, I kind of have no idea where this is going at all. Like, Berger is a person we have met before a million times. I have never met an Alexander Petrovsky. So I am fully on board because I have no idea what this man is going to bring into her life.
Although he's still like a very real guy. Like, you could imagine that this is a guy who is in New York City who would be interested in somebody like Carrie to also defend him. He gets better. I think, to Rachel's point, they make him particularly clunky in this episode for the juxtaposition. I'm just saying, they make him a little too clunky. Because at a certain point, you're like, why? But that's good writing, I guess, because they take you to that cliff.
I'm just going to say, we started this episode with Samantha being like, my nipples are just hard thinking about him.
That's true.
That'll take us through the whole season. So.
And
her nipples will be hard continuously until he exits from the narrative.
But before we continue the date about her, we have to cut back to Samantha with Smith Jared.
Oh my God, I forgot.
Where she's like holding her robe, and then she like shows it, and you're like, oh, she's showing the merkin? And then he's like, aw, you shaved it. Which, like, obviously, I mean, she could not have sex with him with that thing on. And I like that Carrie's narration here is like, there's a point in every relationship where like people choose to be real. And then Samantha's like, I need you to get to work and see what you're doing. You can't be fumbling around down there. And Carrie's like, and today was not that day. Chef's kiss.
Very good.
Then a whole series of events happen but they're all connected to our Lord and Savior, the banana.
Robert Moses? No.
Robert.
They have to get home and they realize, wow, the subways are really inconveniently located.
Oh,
And suddenly...
We got on a lot of highways, express highways to Long Island today. I wonder why. Carrie and Alec are still in the restaurant and they're talking about pain. And then he's like, oh, like you should eat or whatever. And then he's like, you should take a banana and save it for later in your purse for breakfast. And Carrie's looking at him like, again, he's an alien with like 6 heads. But she's like, yeah, okay, whatever. She does make a little funny quip here, though, where she's like, is that a banana? Or are you happy to see me? And you're like, okay, maybe they're starting to like get in a groove of something. Then they go to the gallery. And as they're exiting the cab and it's driving off, Carrie's like, oh no, I left my purse in the cab. And then Alec is like, I'll get it. And then he bursts into a full sprint. And I believe that this whole thing was MacGyvered to show off the fact that Alexander is played by Baryshnikov, who is a world famous ballerina dancer. And I think they just wanted to show his athletic prowess.
Are you not turned on by this scene? I'm confused.
I am turned on by the way that he viciously leaps over the trash. Again, full jazz hands.
Yeah.
And like
pirouette.
Olympian Usain Bolt fucking runs after that cab. Of course my panties are wet.
I was going to say, I'm slipping off this chair just hearing you talk about it.
I'm also saying that they put it in here to show us intentionally that Baryshnikov is a hot athletic man. That was intentional.
Which is good, number one. Number two, are they going to continue to show us this? Because I think I need more evidence that he is the ballerina. I would like to see more of this.
I don't
Well,
think
he
so.
colors outside the lines.
But he chases the cab, and then he gets the cab to stop, and he gets the purse, and then he turns around, and the way he gleefully takes the banana out of the bag and like holds it up like victory.
Yeah.
Carrie's laughing, and we're all laughing, and we're like, when are they getting married? Oh my God. It's like the Snapple. We're like, how am I liking this all of a sudden?
Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm on board. Yeah, no, it's charming and it's great. Marina and I are very easily impressed anytime they have a man do anything vaguely physical on the show, like jump over a trash can or whatever, or like jump over. We're like, hot,
Get him.
That's yeah. We're so simple. We're like,
Wait till you meet early Aiden.
oh my God, I can't even imagine. Wow, what a tease! I can't wait.
So they
so on
go
board.
to see this woman, this Marina Abramovich, who, surprise, surprise, is doing her damn thing at 3 a.m. in the morning. I like the kind of like ghostly smile she gives them as they're like laughing.
I wish she was like, well done. And then she just like fades into nothing.
That'd have been good. Do they make another banana joke here? I forget.
I think so.
I think
but
they
I don't remember what
do.
it is.
Yeah.
We're not done with it. I just don't remember what the joke
I think
was.
one of them is like, she should have a banana, and then they laugh. I think that's literally it. Some people,
They
have
love it.
kids to keep their relationship together. These two, bananas.
Look, I respect it.
So then they walk out, and he like hails a cab, and then he talks a lot to the cab driver in Russian, and then he pays him, and then the cab driver drives off. And Carrie, like us, is mystified. And he's like, I paid him so he could give us time to say goodnight. And then she's like, okay. And then he tries to fuck.
Yeah, immediately is like, all right, so my place is around the corner.
Yeah, I love how he's like, it's downtown. And she's like, we're in Chelsea. And he's like, pretty close to downtown.
He speaks in like non sequiturs, but here it's like it works though. It's like compared to in Just Like That, where we're like everything everyone's saying is nonsense all the time. It works here because he's the only one that talks this way. So you're like, man, this man is just like a thrill.
And he has
I
one
have
meat
no
over
idea what's coming next
with the banana.
with the banana and the running and the jumping.
And the jumping. And he's hot.
And he is
And
hot.
he's rich.
And he's rich.
And he's rich.
And he speaks another language.
Exactly. What's not to like?
That's the only thing women want is some guy to order things in a language he does not know.
Yeah, true. These are the two rules: is order something in a foreign language and run and jump.
And money. And money.
And banana.
And banana.
Banana.
So he's like, not tonight, huh? And she's like, no, because our girl Carrie, she a little prude. She's not gonna put out in the first night. Come on now.
No, but also in her defense, it's like 3 a.m.
True.
Emily.
I'm going home.
Yeah. Emily's like, can you get the cab? Can you pay the cab to come back?
Yes, I was like, that's so sweet and romantic. Can you actually? I'm really tired.
But they ferociously make out, and referencing one of the Russian food items he mentioned, she's like, and he tasted like black cherries.
God, how I wish it was like, and he tasted like banana.
I know.
So much less sexy, but would be so much fun.
That would have been so much better. I do want to read now the snippet from the Sex and the City show and tell all-encompassing book. And I want to take a moment to say that this will be our last entry because they didn't write about the last 8 episodes. So for the next 8 episodes, we won't have this. But then they obviously have seasons 1 through 5, so that'll be covered. But
all right, but this is
so we'll have to enjoy.
I love
this
book. I've been waiting all episode to figure out what are they going to say about Alexander.
This episode was written by Michael Patrick King. Shocker. ABB Harris writes, "We were all very excited that Baryshnikov agreed to join our show. He was gracious and generous and fit right in."
Okay, if you say so.
While we were filming the scene in which Petrovsky runs after Carrie's purse, we had a break at about 2 a.m. The bar next to where we were filming featured a woman dressed as a mermaid who was swimming in a tank behind the bar! Exclamation point. It was so strange, but the whole crew, including Sarah Jessica and Baryshnikov, went in to watch her perform. It was one of those great New York moments that we all got to experience together.
That was cute. I did want a little more information about this character, but I am delighted to hear that they were like, he fit right in. And I'm like, that's an amazing thing to say about this person after everything we have said all evening.
He fit right in because he eagerly went to go watch a mermaid at a bar at 2 a.m. Me too.
Me too. Well, that is the episode.
My God.
What
a journey we've been on.
A journey, a bush, a baby, everything. So we end our podcast as we end all our podcasts with our high and our low, our rose and our thorn. Rachel, I'm going to start with you. What was your low of this episode, your diarrhea?
Wrong number.
Good, yeah.
I can't. To not only double down, but triple down.
This will be the right response 2 more times. Yeah.
2 more times. Emily.
I think my low, I think it's going to be Dr. Robert Leeds, his exit. And by his exit, I mean his lack of exit.
That was going to be mine. Since that can't be mine, I'll say stand-up Carrie. I find her annoying. Sorry. When she gets too into the shtick, I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Is it because I see myself in her? Maybe. But
You're threatened.
I'm threatened. It's predator out here, you know? And then we always end on our high, our release the Kraken. Rachel, what is your high of this episode?
I'll go leaping Alexander. Just clearing all that trash.
We love a man who jumps. I mean, men should do that more.
I guess my second place then is going to be Charlotte showing up and the little moment that they have of where he's like, "Did you make a wish?" That little scene that just like stabbed me in the heart, and I thought it was beautiful.
We have a full spectrum here because Rachel went for like romance and Emily went for friendship, and I'm going for cinematography by calling out that merkin to wig transition because it was just too good, too pure. Everyone if you don't watch Sex and the City, if you've never seen an episode, first of all, start. Second of all, start with this episode, scroll like 10 minutes in, you'll see it. A lesson in camera work. A lesson in editing. Well, this has been Sex and the City, Season 6, Episode 12-1. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. You were
Thank you for having
delightful.
me.
We had such a delightful time. You found out about Emily's Snapple obsession. That's
the biggest takeaway.
That's the biggest.
You need to come back on so every time I can give away a new hyperfixation.
Yes.
Yes.
Just peel back the onion.
And as I say every episode, please like, subscribe, favorite, eat a banana, have fun with a banana. Every time you eat a banana, think of this show and then do more for us on behalf of us. But we appreciate you listening and we'll check you out next time. Bye.